was very challenging. It was, at some point, I felt like I was a zombie because I was just thinking AIDS, AIDS, AIDS. It was really exhausting. But it was a good experience to also work with someone, because I normally work alone at radio, and Brenda was there with me. So sometimes you have to write a script and rescript, send it through, come back and rescript, because I mean you're trying to get the nice story. You know your first script it's not the best. You know what you want. You know, sometimes I had to go home and come back the next day and see what Brenda has done and then rescript again, you know, just to sort of get what you want. Ne? It's always nice when you know, you have an idea of what you want at the end. So you sort of work through it. You know, and it's always nice.
I think what I learned, well, one of the things that I learned is that once you have an idea of where you're going, even if you get a lot of closed doors, just keep going if you believe in the story, because I know, I mean, Natasha was talking about the mining thing not working out, but I mean, you know, once you got the idea that you believed in, then it was, and I think, yeah, like, just keep going at it. So basically, like, keep convincing people that you know what you're doing and that it is going to work out, because if you know that you can...
Thinking outside of the box and kind of just expanding the way that and also my approach to stories and how I tell a story. I think that because I work for a daily newspaper, it's very, like, you almost kind of get into a formula of the way you write a story. It's kind of up and down, it's like this, or it's, you know. So just kind of thinking of different ways to, on how to tell a story and approaching a story in different kind of...
I must admit, before we started the whole project, I just thought we had exhausted the issues of HIV and AIDS. I felt like it was just an boring story, like we've been reporting the same thing all over the years. But when I sat down to jot out ideas that I had in mind, I found out there's millions of stories we haven't told. Stories that are actually in front of us. We've been skipping and jumping to, you know, if there is some child that's failing, and there are stories that are behind stories.
Like, I think I came into fellowship and I was like, I don't write color anymore. Like, it scares me. I'm sick of reading bad color. It makes, like, I don't want to do it. And I think that what was good about the narrative focus was that even though I'm still scared of it now, and I feel like I can still, like, when I'm, like, working on this Eastern Cape thing, I can still kind of feel like, okay, like, face the fear, like, you know, but it made me not so afraid, and it was nice to, because there was, like, a lot of, because the fellows, you know, are good, and also the speakers that came and spoke to us were all, I mean, everybody does narrative quite well, so it was, like, you know, it can be done.
Fellowship. The ability to go back and share with my colleagues at Alex Pioneer, that was also amazing. We've now even the same attitude that we have approached the fellowship stories. It's also the same attitude that now we've adopted in terms of reporting on other stories. So it was quite helpful, and I'll forever remain grateful. And then another thing, putting the human face on the story was also very important. The technical side of it as well, multimedia, learning how to report using the multimedia was also very important.
I learned that using hypothesis is a great way of starting off with the idea and see how to move from there. But also, it's very easy for us, I think, to fall in love with the idea. And when it becomes quite clear at a later stage that it's actually not going anywhere, or that it's actually dying a slow death, or it's not happening at all. So I learned that you can change, or you can drop the idea and start afresh and look at new things. And in fact, some things develop from the initial idea. But also I learned through the experts that you kindly brought through, Paula, for us, specifically Isak Minar. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, he's with us at SABC. But desktop research, because it's hard for us to go out there or spend a lot of time.
I think for me, it was about realizing how how you could win people over in your newsroom, and try to carve something out for yourself. And one of the things which I didn't mention, I think that the fellowship, the skills that we've learned on the fellowship have gone beyond the sort of HIV/AIDS coverage that we've done. So like when I was up in Somalia, I would never have forced online to let me do daily audio diaries, to do a narrative. And that was, I think, one of the highlights of our coverage from Somalia. Yeah, in lots of ways it's about thinking outside the box and then trying to garner support for that. And the nice thing about the fellowship is that it gives you the sort of resources to do it. But also, like the only 2 days that they let me go out to do this, I was a bit like, you sent me on the fellowship. Like, you can't, like, send me on a fellowship and then not let me do it. And they're a bit like, oh, okay, I suppose. Like, okay, you know. And so, you know, they've committed to something that they have to let you go and do it as well.